I speak to you now in the name of God, who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning. This is a really popular side of the church for some reason. Should I face this way today? Again, good morning. I have to say, for some reason, I've been a little bit out of sorts. My alarm clock did not go off this morning, and I was saying horrible, terrible things about my iPhone when I looked down and realized that I'd set it for 6 p.m. instead of 6 a.m. So I kind of slid, and then I forgot the tickets for the big green egg drawing, so I kind of slide sideways into the parking lot, get here just in time for the last service. Had premarital counseling with a young couple between services, and I'm sitting there looking at my watch going, okay, so the next service starts at 11:15. Oh, we got plenty of time. Oh my gosh. So once again, I kind of slide sideways into the hall out here. So, deep breath. I realize I'll just kind of start at the beginning with y'all, okay? I'm going to start at the beginning. So 1670, the first ships land down in Charleston. Charlestown Landing, beautiful, beautiful historic night. 1670, the first ships land down in Charlestown, right? Sent by the Lord's proprietors. And it was a boggy, kind of swampy place. But it's interesting, they began sort of spreading out kind of right away. And as they moved up the coast, by 1676, just 6 years, there were already warnings written into land grants about the swampy area between two of the islands, between what now is the Isle of Palms and Sullivan's Island. It's written up in 1676 as being treacherous. Well, by 1700, they had given a name to that piece of water. They called it the Breech. And the water would just rush into this cut, in and out at high and low tide, between Sullivan's Island and the Isle of Palms. Over the years, its reputation actually gets worse and worse as being just profoundly dangerous. See, one of the things about that inrush and outrush is all the fish that come in and go out on the high and low tides. It's a great place for game fish to feed, but actually for them to be fed upon by sharks. The Breech, or as it became to be known, Breech Inlet, was a very, very dangerous place, which someone forgot to tell the British during the American Revolution. When they decided that they could actually march into the city north to south by crossing what they had been told confidently was the 18 inches of water at low tide between the two islands. Breech Inlet, oh yeah, wait till low tide, you can walk across. You're absolutely right. You can if you're about 30 feet tall. And so, 150 redcoats, sorry if we have any British in here, y'all were the bad guys, 150 are killed in the attempted attack on Charleston. It's a devastating place. Now, by the time I was a young person, they were posting big signs, actual billboards. I think they still have them there, but back in the day, they used to actually tell you how many people had drowned in the past year at Breech Inlet, which, for a teenager who has decided to go fishing at Breech Inlet, is a way of saying, dummy, don't go in the water right here. I did not pay attention to that sign. So I'm there with a couple of buddies, and we're fishing at Breech Inlet. And we're about, I don't know, just a little ways out in the water casting. It's about up to my knees. That's not bad. When suddenly I realized it's about up to my thighs, and a minute later, it's up to my hip, because what's happening is the tide is coming in. Yeah, it's great to cast into that, right? As the tide is coming in, it's swirling sand away out from underneath your feet. And if you're not careful, you're going to get swept into the breach, into the inlet. And once you are in the breach, you are just out of luck. It is a place of profound danger. You can only make a decision to either enter it or not, because once you are in the breach, everything is out of your control. Once you are in the breach, everything is out of your control. By the way, we made it out, in case you were wondering. Now, the thing is, we are in the second week of the season after the Feast of the Epiphany. There are 7 Sundays after Epiphany. And Epiphany actually means manifestation. Specifically, the coming into the world of something new and unexpected. Now, on the Feast of the Epiphany, that's when the Magi arrived, the wise men, bringing gifts to the newborn Messiah. Now, as we move through this season, we move through the life of Christ. And so we've moved past the events of January 6th, the Feast of the Epiphany. And today we are perhaps 29 years, 27 years. We're years and years into the future of the life of Christ. But we're at that pivotal moment where everything is manifested about the reality of who Jesus is. And it's manifested actually in an encounter with his cousin. Now, this isn't a conversation about how John had or had not known the reality of who Jesus was for all of those years. This is about the events that have just taken place. Now, as we talked about last week, John is doing something very, very controversial. He's baptizing. He's taking good, faithful Jews into the water of immersion, literally taking them down and having them come up new and transformed people. We talked about this last week. It's actually something called a tevilah, which is a bath in living water in Hebrew tradition that was reserved only and necessary only for converts to the faith. So John is saying there's something wrong about the way you have been practicing your faith. And this is a recognition and an acknowledgement of this. He's not saying Judaism is wrong at all. He's saying the way they had been living into it and practicing it was wrong or incomplete. And so you need to go down and receive this ritual washing and come up as a transformed person, a person sort of consecrated and blessed to lead this new life of faith. Now the thing is, why was it necessary for Jesus to be baptized? Now again, this is not Christian baptism. This is the ritual washing of Jesus' faith. But why was it necessary for him to be baptized? Well, he wasn't being baptized for any of the reasons that anybody else was. He wasn't being baptized for any of the reasons that you or I come here for baptism. He was being baptized for a completely different reason. Now, how many of y'all are in EFM this year? A few. How many of y'all have done EFM in the past? A few more. Education for Ministry, it's a wonderful program. And one of the things it requires of you is sort of a deep dive into your faith. There is Bible study, there's reading of theology, there's something called theological reflection that causes you to look deeper and deeper into what you believe and why. And it also examines some of the core concepts of our faith. One of them being why Jesus was baptized. Now, for our EFM folks who might go, well, I don't quite recall that part of it. It can actually be found in a book that's being read by a lady named Julia Gatta. Julia is a professor at Sewanee, Rob, there we go, who is a biblical scholar and a pastoral theologian. And she talks about baptism, the baptism of Jesus by John, in this way. Jesus' baptism in the River Jordan by his cousin John was Jesus' statement that I will make my stand with you. Talking about humanity. I will make my stand with you. Wherever you are, whatever you have to go through, I will too. In fact, I, Jesus, will lead the way. If you're going to face hardship, I am standing with you. If you are facing difficult times, I am standing with you. If you are overcome by illness or depression, I am with you. If you are battling addiction, I am with you. I am standing with you. Now, of course, that also means in those joyful moments, Jesus is standing there as well. But let's be honest, how many of us are really looking for Jesus in our lives when things are going great? Okay? Just got a big refund from the federal government on your taxes. Oh, Jesus is right here with me. No. But you get a serious diagnosis from your doctor, yes, that's when you want to cling to Christ. That's when you need to. Because it's those moments that impact us in the hardest ways where we want to, because we need to, turn to God. So what does that have to do with the Breech? With Breech Inlet. Breech Inlet is a dangerous place. It's a place where you have no control. You ever heard of standing in the breach? That's exactly what Christ does. Those horrible, difficult things over which we have no control, but we're going to encounter them anyway, we do not face alone. The difficulties of life, we do not face alone. The things that might overwhelm us and sweep our feet out from under us and carry us into a dangerous place, we do not face alone. But you know, there's more to it than that. What's tomorrow? Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King. We are given examples all through our life of folks that stand in the breach. Folks who stand surrounded by turbulence, facing all kind of hardship, but who are doing it not for themselves, but on behalf of others. It is a Christ-like place to be, standing in the breach. Now, I bring that up in part because of what tomorrow is, but because also of what the world looks like right now. You see, we have decided that it's okay to hate each other, to resent each other, to be angry at each other over things like political opinions, over things that might get posted on social media. I was looking at something a friend had posted the other day, and I looked at that, and I was just outraged. I was furious. How foolish. How foolish. You see, we're called to be something other than that person that experiences and expresses that outrage. We're supposed to be the people that forgive, that turn the other cheek, that make welcome the other. And since we've decided that each other is the other, that means we've got to treat ourselves, one another, a little bit differently. We've got to be willing to see Christ in the other person, not an adversary in the other person. We've got to be able to see that there is someone standing beside us in the midst of the turbulence, who's also standing beside the person we disagree with. You see, in all the chaos that's out there, Christ is standing in the breach. Christ is there. The one who says, I will be with you no matter what the circumstances are, no matter how difficult it is, you are not alone. So guess what? On either side of Christ are the people that we love and the people that we despise. The people we agree with and the people we are opposed to. We are all together in the midst of the crisis, in the midst of the chaos. But we are not alone. Jesus stands with us, ready to face whatever it is that's thrown at us, showing us that there is another way and another hope and another possibility. Amen.